Hi, I'm Kelly from COPS. You are about to watch a faith journey still unfolding. 8 standalone stories told in 27 short episodes from Louis and Florence. This isn't a highlight reel. It's real. Raising a prodigal son, fighting for salvation for loved ones, confronting a financial crisis and dilemma, and a terrible cancer diagnosis that should have ended Louis' story. The furnace is still hot, but so is God's presence. Each episode takes us through their pain and joys, filling us with awe when God turns up, and hope when the outcomes are still not clear. What strikes us the most about this couple is their incredible calmness and Louis's witty humor. In spite of all this craziness going on, perhaps this is the life that C.S. Lewis wrote about, a life of total resignation to God, surrendering totally to God's perfect love. We begin where Florence and Louis's parenting is tested early. Louis lost his job while their third child, Kai-Iann, was on the way. The promise of gift from God collides with fear, fatigue, and real bills.
Hello, I'm Florence.
Hi, I'm Louis.
Today we would like to share our story of our younger son, Kai-Iann, who is God's reward for us. It's a painful reward journey.
The reason why it's a painful reward is, what should I say? We struggle with him for a very long time.
Yes. When I encountered God somewhere in 2003, shortly after that, I realized that I was pregnant. And back then, husband Louis, he was retrenched, and he was actually depressed because I was a full-time homemaker. So financially, he's the only sole provider for the entire family. So when he knew that I might be pregnant, it was like an additional stress upon him, with the third child. And when I knew that he was depressed and stressed out, actually it's affected me as well. I was also very depressed. And I'm thankful that I encountered God there. And so I went to God and I was like telling God, I suspected that I'm pregnant. And when I told that to God, actually God spoke to me in his word. I was just a young believer, knowing much of the word. But the word that God gave me was, he said, the fruit in your womb is a reward. So I was like, but you knew that I was pregnant. I actually teared and I actually went to the gynae with him and we found out that I was pregnant. So throughout my pregnancy journey, it was pretty tough for us because I was bleeding for the first 3 months. And I had 2 older kids, which was 5 and 3. But I'm so thankful that God actually sent a lot of helpers along the line, along, my vicinity. My friends came along to help. So when in days I need to bed rest, they will come around to provide food for me and my children. So that was how God brought us through throughout the pregnancy. And when it was time for delivery, it was also a very swift delivery because he actually pulled inside and it was like within that short period he has to be out. So the doctor actually vacuumed him out from my womb. And it was okay for the first 3 days and I was discharged. But things take a turning turn when we reached the 5 days. On the 5th day, we brought him to the general practitioner, our GP. And the GP was telling us his jaundice is super high. It's like it's dangerous zone. You have to send him ASAP to the emergency ward. And true enough, we sent him to the emergency. And when he was there, it was so critical. And they need to put him in the incubator. And the doctors even said that he need a blood transfusion. They took a 3 count. By this 3rd count, it was so urgent that if the count don't calm down, we have to do an immediate blood transfusion. So imagine I was just like 5th day after delivery, and we were both so down in the hospital. I'm also thankful for my family, my immediate family and my church friends, my cell group friend. who were harnessing beside us, supporting us in prayer, fasting for us and for the child. And we know the complication when he has to do a blood transfusion, his life might not be the same, you know. So I remember that time when I was in the hospital, I was like praying. It was like, I felt like I was like the Garden of Gethsemane prayer. God, can you don't, you know, he's so young. Can you don't, you know, don't do that. Don't let him have this blood transfusion. But I was like struggling with God, praying, crying. I just felt, God, may your will be done. That was my ultimate prayer. I said, Lord, may your will be done. And I rest my case. So when I said that prayer, I felt that that transcendent peace of God just landed upon me. I just felt that great peace. And thereafter,
Yeah. So when I saw this little baby in the incubator, right? I was heartbroken. It was the first time I knelt down, cried, and prayed for my son. And I heard this voice asking me, didn't you hesitate to have this son? But I knew it was God spoken to me, and I told God, no, I want him back. I want this son back. So I knelt down, pray, and cried. And surprisingly, when I look at my wife, she was so calm. She was the one who actually hugged me and consoled me.
yeah, I didn't know this part that he actually knelt down and cried because we are in separate area. And that was when I surrendered. The calmness of God kind of transcended me. And he just came and leaned on my shoulder and cried. And that was that calmness that God gave me. So with that, when he started crying, and the next minute was the nurse came and told us, oh, the marker from so high, it like suddenly plunged down back to normal range. And hallelujah, right? It must be God. It was a miracle. That was Kai-Iann's first miracle. That was back to normal. So when we had this child, we thought, wow, you know, this is a miracle child, and then this was God-given reward. So with the word reward, we always think, wow, this child will turn out good, bright, you know, going on the right path, bring us proud, blah, 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 blah. But it was just the exact paradox. You know, with him, it was challenge after challenge, layers after layer of breaking, and God was like, you know, bending us, molding us, transforming us, and to the max, you know. But it is a reward that is of total difference from my thought, our human thought, or even the earthly thought. Now that we look back, where my son asked as we are sharing his story, it was a painful journey, so painful. That's why we say it's a painful reward, because we don't understand. You know, reward, why is it so? Why is it so tough? Is it so tough to bring up this child? So difficult, so challenging. But with that, every challenge, God break that part of us that we didn't know. His will, his plan. And even the thing that we as parents, we hold on tightly. How to surrender, how to let go, how to be transformed by God, and how to love. Because to love a child that is easy to love, obedient, you know, doing well, it's so easy to love. But with a child that is against all odds, so tough, whatever you say, he go the opposite way. You know, any parents, it will break any parent's heart for what he has tried, tested, and do in our life. And it really takes a supernatural God to give us a supernatural love to love him.
Yeah, I remember during his growing up time in nursery, in primary school, there was a time when I started taking up a regional job where I travel a lot. I spend a lot of time overseas, a lot of time at the airport, a lot of time in the airplane. So very little time at home. So what Florence has gone through, I didn't get the chance to witness. But every time when I come back after a business trip, I will hear a lot of stories. And I still remember there was once we were called up to the school. The few of the teacher having a lot of complaints about Kai-Iann. So I questioned one of the teacher. I said, don't you see any one thing good about Kai-Iann? Because every time we come here, it's about complaint. I never hear any complaints about him.
So that was the saddest part for me as a mom as well, because he was always away. So I'm single-handedly taking care of 3 kids. And Kai-Iann is actually from young, he's a very different boy. He's a very different child, you know. He just doesn't fit into the local Singapore system because he's playful, he's wild, he's lively. He's actually very creative, out of the box. You know, the things he thought of is always out of the box. I remember he'd be like the leader. He will see things of the nature, grasshopper, whatever. I'll always give him a box he'll bring to school. Guess what? The next day, whole class will all come with a box, bringing different kind of grasshopper because they will follow what he do. You know, so he has this kind of life and creativity in him, in the nature. And of course, in preschool, it's allowed. But when he's in primary school and upper secondary, it's different. It's a different ballgame. So the challenge for us as a parents, I always felt, is sad because he's in the school system and they cannot box him, you know. So when he was out of the box, it takes the teachers to see him in a different perspective to have that kind of love. I know it's tough for teachers to have that kind of patience because they have so many children, but it was also our struggle. What can we do? We cannot change him, you see.
That was only the starting line. Next, we move into the school years. Disappearing nights, frantic searches, and the moment every parent dreads, realizing love alone won't rescue a child. We will see you in the next episode.